My husband and I are both teachers, and the days leading up to the holidays are always crazy busy for us. So it's nice to have something warm in the crock pot when we get home. So today we're going to make a nice big pot of Great Northern beans.
For today's recipe, you're going to need 8 ounces of dry Great Northern beans. If you buy the 1 pound bag, that's going to be half the bag. And we're going to soak these overnight, and I'll give you some information about that later. You'll need 1½ tablespoons of kosher salt, a half teaspoon of ground black pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion salt, a half teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and 1½ teaspoons of beef bouillon powder, and just enough water to cover. When you're using dried beans, you'll want to take those beans and just drop them in a big bowl of cold water the night before and let them soak and get a little bit of the debris out, but also let these start softening up, because when they're softer, they're going to absorb the flavors better and they're going to cook faster.
Now I am using dried beans, and what I did was last night before I went to bed, I just set them in a bowl of water. I'm going to drain these. You really want to, if you're using dried beans, soak them at least 2 or 3 hours. Overnight is great because these can take a long time to cook. But we're just going to sit these aside and go ahead and get our seasonings ready. I'm going to use a white onion, and I'm just going to cut this into big chunks. Big chunks are great. They will cook down, but they'll give you that flavor that you want in your bean stock. And I'm going to do something that people think is a little odd, but we're actually going to saute these in bacon drippings. And if you don't like using bacon fat, you can use vegetable oil. It just gives it a lot better flavor if you go ahead and use the bacon drippings. And I'm also going to be flavoring these with just a little bit of meat. And what I have here is about 4 ounces of ham steak. Now this is actually ham steak that we smoked and put away in the freezer. You can also use just bacon, raw bacon, and just cut it up into chunks. And we're going to saute this in our pot along with our onions. So let's move to step number 2. Now again, I'm using my Cuisinart slow cooker, and I've turned it up on high because I want it to get warm. I'm going to put my bacon drippings down in the bottom, and then I'm going to drop in my chopped onion and my ham steak, and I really just want to kind of get these to a sizzle. Okay, so my ham and my onions are sizzling. I don't really need to cook them because I just want to get them hot enough that they're going to release those oils inside. And I'm going to go ahead and add my seasonings first. So I have 1½ tablespoons of kosher salt. It seems like a lot, but these dried beans have absolutely no seasoning whatsoever. And at the end, you'll probably want to taste them. They may need a little bit more. We're using a half teaspoon of ground black pepper. We're using 1 teaspoon of onion salt and a half teaspoon of garlic powder. And a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flake. Now I have drained the water out of my Great Northern beans, and I did pick through to make sure I didn't have any ugly beans in there, so I'm just going to dump those in right on top of my seasoning. And then I'm going to add water. Now I want this to boil before I cover it up and simmer it, so I've preheated my water in the microwave, and I just want enough water to cover my beans. I'm going to put the lid on, bring this to a boil, and then I'm going to knock it down to a simmer and let it go all day. Okay, so my beans are really hot. They're getting ready to hit that boiling point. One last thing that I want to do before I simmer them for the rest of the day is I'm going to put in 1½ teaspoons of beef bouillon powder. Now you can use chicken, but I'm using smoked ham as my meat flavoring today, and the beef just goes really well with that, and it will just give it a little bit more flavor. Just give it a good stir. I'm going to put the lid on, knock this down to simmer, and let it cook all day long. Okay, we just got home from school, and if we take a look at our beans, a lot of the moisture has been absorbed, and this smells amazing. Now, at this point, you probably want to taste it again and make sure that it has enough salt, or you can leave that for the individual servings. But these beans are ready for dinner.
These beans are absolutely wonderful by themselves with a slice of cornbread, or you can pair them with your other favorite comfort foods. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and if you would like them to continue, be sure to like, comment, and share. Thanks, guys.